This is a monumental moment in Bar Down history because I feel like this is the official first kind of episode, whatever you want to call it, of BD football and what we want to be, because we're all huge NFL fans here. And we've talked about this for years, where we want to do more NFL content. We've done it with Huddle Up for the CFL. Now we're taking it to the NFL because we want to be everything football. And so we're really excited about this. We've got a lot of different long form video ideas coming. This one's going to feel like a Bar Down Hockey podcast, which we want it to. And the title of it, if you've clicked on it, is 10 bold predictions, 10 hot takes for the 2023 NFL season. For those that don't know the people in this video, if you haven't watched some of the content, this is Matt Hempstead, Thomas Pockernick, Christopher Hine, and myself, Luca Celebre.
I think you undersold it. This isn't just bold predictions. These are scorching, scorching hot takes.
It's like Flamin' Hot Cheetos.
Yeah, scorching takes.
My desk in the office isn't even that close to this guy's, but he's so loud, and all I hear all day are bold predictions from this guy. He's been saying since May that he can't wait for the NFL season to start, which is pretty wild.
It's been a long
which is
time.
pretty wild.
Yeah.
But regardless, I'm super, super pumped to get things going and to let the hot takes fly.
It's not just bold predictions from this guy, though. It's also a ton of Bills propaganda and just,
I just like talking football, man. Like, yeah, sure, OTAs hadn't even started, but it was like, what else are we going to talk about? Who cares? Hockey playoffs? Nah, like, the draft just ended. Let's get ready for NFL season.
We haven't heard each other's hot takes yet. This is all a surprise to us. We're going to react in real time. So the floor is yours for hot take number 1.
I just want to say, and I'm going to look right into the camera for this, people in the comments, we are supposed to be over the top here. We are supposed to be bold. So like, don't roast me when this doesn't happen, because I really went. Oh, I took this to heart.
I was
going to
say
over the top with the scorchingness of this take.
But Hine, you can't backpedal.
I'm not backpedaling. I'm just giving the prerequisite.
And this is irresponsible of all of us to do.
Yeah,
like, we're putting our names on a lot of things.
Yes.
Like the QB ranking videos that we do, we hear it in the comments. We see it. So this is absolutely irresponsible of us. But we don't get to do this like the Stephen A. Smiths of the world every day. So
and
this
I
is
believe,
fun.
and I deep down, I believe this. By the end of this season, the Bears will be looking for a new quarterback. Justin Fields will not be the answer at quarterback by the end of the season. I'm not saying he's going to get benched to the end of the year.
Okay.
But I'm saying the season's going to end, and the Bears are going to be like, hey, maybe we should have kept that first overall pick and drafted Bryce Young. We made a mistake thinking Justin Fields is our future. And by the end of the season, he will not be their future.
Put 2 minutes on the clock, take as long as you want, but I want you to lay out the case before we come back at you.
So it's simple. I want my quarterback to throw the ball. And I think he's the perfect example of where fantasy clouds reality judgment. Yes, Justin Fields, a great fantasy quarterback last year. But before they kind of unleashed him with his legs, only twice last year did he hit 200 yards passing. To me, the reality element is you don't win football games with Justin Fields as your quarterback, because I want my quarterback to primarily be a good passer. Yes, it's important to be dual threat and to run the ball, but I'm not confident in his ability to throw the football.
The Bears last season were not set up to be a passing team. Like, the offensive line was garbage. The wide receivers, Mooney was injured for part of it, and then Velus Jones Jr. as a rookie is like one of the guys you expect Fields to be throwing to.
Traded basically a first-round pick for Chase Claypool.
You guys haven't mentioned N'Keal Harry.
One of the dumbest trades of all time was trading that pick for
Yeah, it was
pick
essentially a first-round
32.
pick.
It was a first-round pick because the Dolphins got theirs taken away for Chase Claypool.
But to Hempstead's point, though, a lot of people are talking like DJ Moore is this, that people are using the Stephon Diggs example of like Josh Allen needed a great receiver.
Well,
That's my take.
I don't think people are saying that DJ Moore is Stephon Diggs, but I think if you look at history of quarterbacks, like Jalen Hurts was struggling before A.J. Brown got there. Tua was struggling before Tyreek Hill got there. Like, I think it is a little unfair so early in his career to label Justin Fields as like he can't pass when clearly he hasn't been put in a situation to do well. Like, how many quarterbacks can you confidently say would have succeeded in that Chicago offense last year?
You're right. I just think Hurts is unprecedented, his turnaround, and everyone talks about the work that guy puts in. I feel like those guys are more outliers than necessarily the rule. Tua, like,
Oh,
I don't know. No. I'm saying I was gonna actually praise Tua. I wasn't gonna say anything bad about Tua. Tua's always been accurate, and like Tua, I think even if Tyreek Hill doesn't come last year, Tua still has a decent year outside of the injuries.
Sorry,
And
I don't think
also-
the mic. Can you say that again? I don't think the mic picked that up.
People saying, "Oh, he just needs that," and DJ Moore can be that help. I don't think either of them is that guy. DJ Moore's a fine receiver. He's a good guy. But I don't think he's like a true number one who's going to take Justin Fields to that next level.
He's got to improve as a passer. Like, I think he just will improve because you can't pass for less yards than you did last year. Fields has shown that he's a little more dynamic as a runner than we probably thought. But I think Fields' superpower at Ohio State was always like, he was a good passer. He was pretty accurate. He was on time. Like, he ran the offense. And I know, like, the Ohio State bias for quarterbacks is, like, a little wonky because not many
look at the
of them have
playmakers
succeeded.
Look at the playmakers.
That, too.
He had amazing receivers.
Of course.
It's not even so much as what he's done as a passer. He's proven he is an elite athlete, and he is very dynamic in a certain area. I think in the modern-day NFL, you can put that talent with the proper pieces around him and win football games. So who's to say that Bryce Young is going to come in and do well? Who's to say that CJ Stroud? Like, all of those guys are also question marks. Rookie quarterbacks most of the time aren't very good. So I think Chicago looked at their team, said, we have a quarterback with a very, very special talent in a certain area. Let's build a team in a way that we can capitalize on that, rather than starting from scratch and going to another uncertainty. I think the Bears, I mean, we've had this conversation.
We all argued about this.
I think the Bears did the right thing in trading down.
I do too.
Regardless of what happens this year. And I think it's more of a detriment to the Bears front office if they can't capitalize on what Fields does well, because he is a very, very talented athlete.
I just think it's a disservice to bring a guy in 2 years with terrible team, terrible offensive line. You can't just keep shuffling.
I'm a patient guy, but I know the NFL isn't a patient business.
You gotta see what he is.
Look at the Cardinals, though. The Cardinals had a similar situation with when they drafted Kyler Murray.
Yeah.
And it was like, yeah, we're giving up on what's his name?
Josh Rosen.
Chosen Rosen.
I think that's a little different though, because like there was nothing about
they
watching
saw
Josh
him in his
Rosen
start,
that was like, what does this guy do well? Like, he doesn't do anything well.
I think there were 9 mistakes ahead of him.
I'm by no means comparing Justin Fields to Josh Rosen.
No.
I'm just saying that was an example where they're like, hey, we looked at what we had.
For sure.
And we know we have to pull the trigger here.
Totally
and
fair.
They're now in a mess with Kyler's contract, which is arguably one of the worst in the league, depending on how you feel about it.
Yeah.
Let's move on.
Yeah, I was going to say, we could probably talk about Justin Fields for like a whole hour.
We got really fired up about
That's
that one.
probably
That's a bold
really,
take.
really controversial one that will
Yeah.
get, like, I think what I'm about to say isn't going to, divide the room as much.
The flaming hot meter. It's a little on the low
okay.
end.
I still think this is very ambitious.
Okay.
Mine is all about quarterback second chances. And this guy had a Cinderella story run last year, and that's Geno Smith.
Oh,
okay?
goodness. Okay.
He was one of the best stories in the NFL last year, and again going into this year, people are doubting him. And honestly, if you asked me, maybe even before the draft, I would have banked on the regression. But with this take, I am going to say that the Seattle Seahawks have a top 3 offense in the NFL this year, and they win the NFC West, which is a pretty tough division with the San Francisco 49ers there. I'm all in on the Seahawks, and it's not necessarily because of Geno. It's because of the surgence of youth that they have on the defensive side of the ball, and you pair that with what I would consider maybe the best wide receiver trio in the NFL.
I think it is.
And what I think is going to be a two-headed monster with Kenneth Walker and rookie Zach Charbonnet. So I'm all in on the Seahawks this year. I think they're going to be a very, very fun team to watch, and I'm putting that on record.
One thing I love about this, Puck, is the uncertainty with the Niners. People are just banking on Brock Purdy being what he was last year, and that's a year now of everybody having tape on him. Who knows what Brock Purdy's going to be? And the Rams could be garbage. Like, I don't know. It's just it's a more wide open division than I think most people.
I mean,
think.
have you ever seen like a Super Bowl favorite like coming into the season as far as odds go with the quarterback uncertainty that they have just be as highly favored as they are?
I think it's the Shanahan tax.
Yeah,
people are just like, you can give this guy anything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Look at Sam Darnold lighting it up in the preseason, right? But it makes sense. That division is definitely for the taking, and that rivalry between those two teams, like when Richard Sherman and those days, like Legion of Boom against Patrick Willis and Navarro Bowman, and those games were just incredible. If we can get that again twice, 3 times a year, sign me up. So
Someone's gonna play devil advocate though. Like
play it because I kind of want to play it as well.
We can't all love the Seahawks
We
here.
can't all pat him on the back and say great take, great hot take.
Yeah.
Seattle being a good offense, I'm on board with. The winning the division, I still don't really see, just because look, the 49ers, I'm not into Purdy either. I don't think many people are sold because of his very limited sample size last year. But you still have Kittle, Ayuk, McCaffrey, like, I don't really care who's throwing the football. It can be Darnold coming in the middle of the season, and they'll still probably find a way to win games with a defense that gives up, like, under 20 points per game.
Yeah.
I think, like, I just don't see a way that Seattle leapfrogs that. Offense aside, Purdy aside, the defense is just too much.
I want to kind of play a little devil's advocate too, because like, are we sure Geno Smith is
Yeah,
good?
it's something I've asked myself too. It's just more so like I do think they're becoming a little bit of the 49ers junior where you talk about that San Fran offense where it's like anyone can go in there.
Yeah.
Is Geno now in that position, and he's got this great story. He's got a chip on his shoulder. I think he's confident. I think the organization is just handed him the keys and say like, you're our guy. Like this is your team, and I think that goes a long way.
Geno Smith. It's gonna be all on Geno Smith this year for Seattle. I'm curious to see if he can do it again. The offense looks incredible though, and like those 2 tackles that they drafted last year, like they hit on every pick last year.
All those Broncos picks.
All those Broncos picks. Literally, like, the worst part of that trade when we look back on it in 10 years is just like, you can never predict what the picks are going to be.
Exactly.
But then you get the tackles, you get Woolen, you get, like, literally every player you drafted, you hit on, and it's like, okay, sick. So now everyone's going to look at it as like, Russell Wilson for this, all these future Pro Bowlers. Like, don't get me started. It's a horrible, makes it look even worse than it is. But I like the pick, and I like the take. Let's move on to Matt, your first hot take of the day.
There's a lot of great wide receivers in the NFL. Obviously, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, Tyreek Hill, all big fantasy guys. But when I'm looking for someone to kind of take a huge next step, I look at Chris Olave, and I think there's a realistic chance that he leads the NFL in receiving yards.
Ooh,
I love that.
Ooh, that's bold.
I like that.
Last year, he played with Jameis Winston and Andy Dalton in a combination. This year, Derek Carr comes in, and he's a guy who has supported wide receivers like Devontae Adams, obviously easy to do, Hunter Renfrow, Amari Cooper, Michael Crabtree, Darren Waller, even Nelson Aguilar. Okay, like he's made these guys relevant wide receivers in the NFL. Chris Olave is already a guy who in his rookie season had over 1,000 yards, was getting open. His yards per catch was like 14.7. Derek Carr is going to love this guy. This is an offense that is kind of overlooked because, no one gives Derek Carr the love, but he's good at getting his guy targets. He's good at getting his guy receptions, and I think Olave realistically can hit that like 1,600 yard mark this year.
I love it.
Yeah,
I think he was snubbed for Offensive Rookie of the Year, to be honest with you.
It was close.
I think it was close. I think he was better than Garrett Wilson.
It's missing 2 games too kind of hurts you.
For sure.
But
for sure. I
Garrett
think
Wilson was just very inconsistent too, but that was because of his quarterback play. And I think they were like, look, you had this awful quarterback situation, and the numbers were
it's the New York effect, man.
Yeah,
It's the New
it
York
is.
effect, and I hate it, but I love Chris Olave as a receiver. Like, he's so amazing.
Oh, yeah.
Someone who dropped him after week 1 last year.
Oh,
It was
no.
a painful Chris Olave experience.
so
But I
good.
love that take, Hempstead. Like I also think a big part of that is Kamara. I know he's gonna be suspended for he gets the first 3 games.
Yeah.
But he looks spry in camp, and like people are expecting a bounce back from him, and that's just there's a lot of weapons there, and Carr's at least competent enough. You want to go 9-8, Derek Carr's your guy, but the receivers will eat for sure.
I'm into this because, I don't know, it's hard to lead the league in consecutive years as far as like receivers go, receiving yardage wise. I don't think anyone thinks Justin Jefferson's not going to be up there.
No.
But like Cooper Kupp, injuries, they happen. Things happen. Like, we're looking for the next great wide receiver. Chris Olave could definitely be that.
You don't know how much Jordan Addison's going to eat into the pie. You don't know KJ Osborne.
TJ Hawkinson.
There's just a lot of weapons there. And again, I'm not saying he's going to be bad, obviously.
No.
But like, if Olave puts up 1,600,
I know.
that could lead the NFL.
I think I'm going to sit on the fence a little bit with this one because I love Chris Olave.
He's so good.
I think he's such a complete wide receiver. We've seen him, beat guys deep.
Yep.
I think he's a great route runner. I just think the Saints this year are like the ultimate wild card.
Oh, yeah.
Which Derek Carr are we going to get? Is Alvin Kamara, are his best days behind him? Is Michael Thomas going to stay healthy? Is Dennis Allen capable of having
that's my
the big
issue.
one.
some sort of
I think that's the big
competitive
red flag.
offense? Is Derek Carr going to bounce back away from Josh McDaniels? Like, there's so many question marks. Comes to the point where, like, I've been looking at Chris Olave a lot in fantasy. And part of me is just trying to tell myself, like, stay away from everyone who's affiliated with the New Orleans Saints. And then part of me is sort of, buying this, which I think is a gamble, but buying this very, very high upside. Yeah. So I'm into the take. I think if there is an under-the-radar receiver to do it, it is going to be Olave. And I can see Derek Carr just kind of, channeling his inner Jay Cutler and just locking
Yeah,
onto
lock
one.
into one guy.
Yeah, lock into one guy and just, I'm going to throw to you 15 times every week.
Love it. I'm going to stick with the wide receiver train for my first one. And Chris Olave is part of it, and I guess the young influx of receivers in the league, but also really the young influx of quarterbacks in the league and just the ascension of some of these guys. 2019, 29 receivers at over 1,000 yards. It's an NFL record. Happened a few years ago. Since then, improvements from guys like Joe Burrow and Justin Herbert, Lamar Jackson, a lot of guys entering the league. So my hot take is that there are going to be over 30 players, because that could include running backs, that can include tight ends, not just receivers, that are going to go for over 1,000. I want to say it's going to be like over 32 as well. Like, I don't want to just say, oh, they're going to beat it by one, the record. Like, there are so many guys. And I honestly feel confident kind of about, like, you know what, maybe Anthony Richardson just locks in on Michael Pittman all year, makes him an 1,000-yard receiver. Maybe Trevor Lawrence has 3 1,000-yard receivers. Mahomes is going to make someone an 1,000-yard receiver this year, I think.
Other than Kelsey.
Other than Kelsey.
Yeah.
So, like, you're getting one there. There are just so many places I look around where I'm just like, the quarterback talent is too good and the receiver talent is too good on the team for you not to have 2 guys. And so maybe Bijan hits 1,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That team is going to, like, be maybe the reason why this take hits or not, because Kyle Pitts can do it. Drake London can do it. Wouldn't be surprised if Bijan does it at a running back, and we've seen Christian McCaffrey already do it. So that one is intriguing as well in San Fran, where it's like, okay, Debo, Ayuk, Kittle, McCaffrey. I don't know, man. I just feel good about where we are as a league as far as the offenses go right now. They're just amazing, and I know the defenses are good, but I think the offenses are just like a step ahead with all the quarterbacks.
Well, it's also the style of play. People know that's what you want to do. You want to pass, but also the rules are geared towards more
100%.
passing. I think the one flaw in that could be injuries. Too many guys get hurt, and if like someone could be on pace and then miss 3-4 games, I think it's definitely possible. But I think injuries would be what derails that. But you're definitely going to get a couple 1,000-yard receivers from certain teams.
The last time we got 3 for a team was 2008 with the Cardinals. I wonder.
Was that Bolden, Fitzgerald, and
Steve Breston.
Wow!
Yeah.
What a pull! What a deep
I
pull.
wonder if we get it this year with
This guy's been sporkling a lot.
Oh,
You have to pull out that stat.
I'm always sporkling. I believe that was the last time. It was 2008 with Kurt Warner.
Can I add on to your bold take?
Sure, go ahead.
Doubling down.
So you said there's going to be 32. We'll go with 32. It's a fun number. Theoretically, one from every
one
team.
per team, right?
I'm going to say that there will be 32, and that won't include Mr. 1,000 yards, who has gotten 1,000 yards every single year he's been in the league. Mike Evans,
Wow,
who is an
okay.
1,000-yard machine.
Yep.
And he's not going to get it this year with Baker Mayfield at quarterback. But it's still going to hit.
I think the opposite. I think they're just going to feed him. Just like Tom Brady did in
never
the
know.
last game of the year where he was like, Mike Evans needs 1,000, we're getting him there.
Baker Mayfield got one of the best wide receivers in NFL history in his prime in Odell Beckham Jr. and turned him into an afterthought in the NFL. So I'm concerned about anyone lining up.
Yeah, I had
for the
Baker
Bucs.
32, I think, in our quarterback video.
They got to do a 30 for 30 on just Odell's career and how Baker absolutely spiraled. Because everyone was pumped about that move, and then from there, like, he just ruined his career. Let's go to the other side of the table.
Oh, we're not, I don't know if we were gonna go snake
No,
draft
we won't
or-
go snake. We'll go all the way around. I'll end it.
The Titans and the Packers are winning their division. So Titans are winning the AFC South. Packers are winning the NFC North.
Parlay.
Okay.
So yeah, oh god, you're getting 4-1 on both. So parlay, it's like just.
This take makes me sick.
So
I love this. I love this
the
take.
Packers part of it, I am 100% on board with. The Titans part of it, I couldn't be like
So
less
he hates
excited.
Ryan Tannehill.
Let me
This is
tell you. Let me
Subtle
tell you a
man.
bit on this. Where does this come from?
I know where it comes from.
It comes from all the hype with the Lions, that's undeserved, and all the hype with the Jags, which, like, yes, the Jags were a fun story last year, but as bad as the Titans were, they still played for the division on the last game of the season. The Titans were, I think, 7-2 or 7-3 at one point last year, and then Tannehill goes down for the last 3 or 4.
More, I think.
Like,
They fell apart without him.
they fell apart without Tannehill. They still have Vrabel. Vrabel, to me, I love Vrabel. Vrabel's he's a great coach who's done so much with so little. my wife kind of has a thing for him, so I don't like that part about it. So like that scares me a bit.
That is the last thing I expected to hear today.
We're watching Red Zone and Vrabel comes on. She's just like, "Oh, Titans are up." It's like, what? You were paying attention? Oh, but no, when Vrabel pops up, okay, so whatever.
It's wild.
Just putting that out there. But I think that the Titans are just the boring pick. And people are like, it's the new sexy toy in the Jags and Trevor Lawrence, and everyone's excited. But Vrabel, they still got Derrick Henry. Tannehill is still competent. And, oh yeah, they brought in DeAndre Hopkins. Like, come on. The Titans to me are, I think just, we talked about the betting element at the beginning. At 4-1, that's a great value. What have the Jags done to be such an overwhelming favorite in that division?
Maybe it's not about so much what they've done as what people expect them to do, because you expect them to get better, right? Mm-hmm. I'm surprised you didn't bring it up, though, is the Jags are playing the first place schedule, where they, I believe, have to face Kansas City and Buffalo this year, as well as a lot of other good teams. And I know the AFC South is kind of just a disaster, like Tannehill, and then you've got the 2 rookie quarterbacks. But I don't know, like it's you said it. Jacksonville hasn't really done anything as far as consistency to show that, like, yeah, they're going to sweep the Colts, they're going to sweep the Texans, and those games are just going to be cakewalks, and you've got 5 out of 6 division wins, and then you just need like 5 more wins and you've got the division locked up.
To me, I think the Jaguars are in a window now where they're going to be winning that division like we see the Chiefs doing. It's just like, oh, that division, Jaguars for the next 5 years.
And it's Trevor Lawrence, right? Like Lawrence, that's why?
I mean, he's taken that jump, and like he's kind of following that Joe Burrow progression of like, okay, we see the tough start, obviously, but we literally saw him become an amazing quarterback as the season went on last year. It wasn't a great start, but down the stretch, this guy was
amazing,
unreal.
yeah.
Except until the wild card.
Oh, and I love Trevor Lawrence. Like at Clemson, that guy from a freshman, like he was amazing, and he was must watch every Saturday.
Yeah,
I think that's why these are scorching hot takes.
I'm actually 0-2 on your take.
Oh,
I disagree with both.
So, but what about the Packers though? I'm
0-2 on it. Yeah, I don't think the Titans or the Packers win the division.
You don't think the Packers? So I believe in the Packers a lot more, and the Lions, I'm kind of just like, regression
on offense for sure. And are we sure Dan Campbell's a good coach? Because I think that
I agree with as well. Like, I love the guy, but I don't know if he's a good coach.
That act wears thin. I know it's like
you're not winning games.
It gets real old real fast. And I think that could be, you want a real dark horse. I'm going to take the sprinkle of a hot take on a hot take. Dan Campbell, first coach to get fired.
Wow.
You get great numbers. You get great odds on that. And like, if it starts to go south,
I think both of these divisions are far more wide open than anyone is talking about. And we're giving the Jags and we're giving the Lions all this glory before they've earned it. I don't think that they're head and shoulders above the rest of the field. Like, the Titans have been criminally underrated for this entire Mike Vrabel, coaching period, and it seems like every year they prove everybody wrong. Derrick Henry, if he runs for 2,000 yards this season, I don't think I'd be surprised. Like, I think he's still that guy. He's just so good. But the Jaguars are far from a complete product in my eyes. They had a great back half of the season last year, but in the first window, they showed us they were probably one of the worst teams in the NFL. Like, I'm going to need some consistency, and that's pretty much the same story with the Lions, too. But I just think it's a little too much for me at this point.
Pac, take number 2.
I want to talk about Sam Howell and the Washington Commanders.
You don't have to. I'm on board.
I think this is a very, very intriguing team this year. They got new ownership, so they can put all that negativity in the past. Eric Bieniemy comes in, who's had a lot of success in Kansas City. A talented backfield in Antonio Gibson and Brian Robinson. And then the receiving core also seems like it could be a pretty potent trio. You put all that together, and you got this young quarterback in Sam Howell, who at one point, and I know this is going to sound pretty silly because this was like a full year before the draft, but at one point he was touted as the next guy to be the number 1 overall pick. Obviously, he fell way, way down, but I think the talent is there. And there's all these nice ingredients where I think the Washington Commanders this year are going to go to the playoffs in a wide open NFC, and Sam Howell he'll cement himself as the cornerstone of this franchise. I think he's going to be a franchise quarterback.
Hop on the Sam Howell train, baby.
I think Hines howling at this take. But I'm in on Sam Howell.
I'm in on him too.
Here's one thing that scares me with Washington. all those guys were complaining that Bieniemy's working them too hard. Like, what kind of character are all those the offense where it's like, oh, this guy comes with Super Bowl pedigree and starts working them hard and challenging them, and they go and they complain.
Once you win, that all goes out the window.
I will once again take this towards head coach. I don't think Ron Rivera is a good
I
head
was gonna
coach.
say that's my flaw. I am
that is
so
definitely
out
the
on Ron
flaw.
Rivera.
Yeah,
not to backpedal. I am
Riverboat Ron,
so
eh?
out on Ron Rivera.
Guy's
I
a
think Howell
gambler.
could be good, and because Bieniemy is there, Bieniemy can maybe show him some things. But the fact that the guys are already complaining about how hard he's working, and the fact that Rivera's the head coach, that is why, for that reason, I am out.
They
Sam
did
Howell.
just beat the Baltimore
Yes,
Ravens
I bet
and
the
their
Ravens.
24 game.
And they celebrated like they won
Yes.
the Super Bowl.
Hell yeah, they did. And after Sam Cosmi was like, "Yeah, we don't care if we win, we win. If we lose, we lose." Like, no, you cared. First of all, just chill. But Sam Howell, 2 touchdown passes in the game. I think
Sam
you
Howell
He actually looks good too.
19 to 25. Like, you're playing a good Ravens team. Doesn't matter if it's the preseason or not.
I almost made a similar take to Pac, just saying, like, I think they can finish second in the division and make a little playoff run. Because, like, the defense already, no one's talking about the defense either.
Yeah.
But it's a good unit. And then,
Very good unit.
like, the offense, I can see your upside of, like, even this season, I can see a top 16 offense, which with that defense is a playoff team, in my eyes.
Yep.
And again, the NFC's kind of ass.
It's bad.
It's not good.
Understatement. It is ass.
It is ass. So, like, it's totally possible that the Commanders not even make it, but, like, I can see them winning a game.
I'm in on Sam Howell. I think he's kind of an
I'm in too.
underrated athlete too. Like, he can move a little bit. He can rush. He did that a bit in North Carolina. I think he's pretty good, man.
Yeah.
Like, if you had to give me him or Desmond Ritter, I'm taking Sam Howell.
Sam
Yeah, I'm taking Howell over
Sam
Ritter
Howell.
too.
I think if you're projecting those two, like, which one has a better chance of coming out of this as the answer for those franchises, like, give me Sam Howell. I'm on the train. Okay, wow. It's kind of like a
You're not buying
unanimous-
playoffs. Though.
No, just
You're not buying
Rivera
playoffs?
sucks, man.
You
Riverboat
said
Ron
earlier,
is-
Dan Campbell, first coach to get fired. Like,
Rivera
That's
could be
a-
in there.
that's
separate
a
take.
good-
Rivera,
Yeah.
week 4. See you later, buddy. And then they have this like Bieniemy takes
Bieniemy
over.
takes
I was
over.
gonna say
Yeah.
Bieniemy knew going there is like, this guy doesn't know what he's doing. I'm gonna be the coach in so quick of a time. Matty highlights.
All right,
Give us take number 2.
take number 2. Get Eric on the phone for this one.
The Baltimore Ravens.
I'm talking about Lamar Jackson. I know
MVP.
you're big on Lamar Jackson.
Oh, yes, I am.
I'm not going to say MVP because Mahomes and Burrow exist in this league.
And Josh
But,
Allen.
no, not Josh.
Josh Allen also exists in
Um,
this league.
I think Lamar has his best season in the NFL. Better than his MVP.
Dude, 2019 is... Sorry to interrupt your take. Warren Sharp posted something the other day, and it was the top 50 quarterback seasons in the last, 10 years.
Yep.
2019, Lamar... to pass that is... This is hotter than my field take. If you're saying he's going to have a better year than
I
2019.
think that year you only had 35 passing touchdowns.
Yeah, but
right?
dude, it's the 1,000 yards rushing.
I know,
everything
I know.
that
He had,
comes with
he had
it.
1,200 rushing yards. He had just over 3,000. I'm not saying he's going to surpass those rushing yard totals. But when you look at what this offense is going to be this year, everyone's least favorite OC is gone.
Yeah.
Todd Monken is in.
Yep.
Last season, this team, 3 wide receiver sets 12% of the time, which is by far the least in the NFL. And obviously, they didn't really have weapons to support a 3 wide receiver set either, because they were throwing out guys like DeMarcus Robinson.
Yep.
Uh,
Had him in fantasy. a couple
Duvernay.
weeks.
It's
That was
like,
tough.
what's going on here?
Bad times.
Likely was being targeted way more than he's supposed to be. Now Monken comes in. You've already seen it. They've got 3 wide receiver sets. This offense is going to be wide open. You got Andrews, you got Beckham, you got Bateman, you got Flowers, who I love, with the running game that they've already proven they have. Lamar Jackson's running ability. Why can't this offense be the best that Baltimore's had in the past decade? With Lamar at the helm, I think he goes 3,500 and 1,000.
I think he,
I could see
I
it.
think he
I could
passes
see
for
it.
4,000 this year.
You
I think he
goes
does
for
it.
That's what I'm saying.
And it might be at the
there.
expense of some rushing yards, but I think he passes. For
I think,
more
if
this year.
anything, that's a good thing for the Ravens.
I think so,
if
too.
I'm the GM, if I'm the owner, I don't want this guy running all that much. I know he's very good at it, but I
Yep.
would try to limit, and that's what I think is going to be so good about the Ravens this year is because they have so many good weapons. There's no more excuses anymore.
No.
The Super Bowl window for the Ravens is open. He's gotten his big contract. Zay Flowers, Beckham, all those weapons you said are phenomenal.
Dobbins in the running game.
They got to go out and win, and I think, if anything, Lamar has to have a season like that because the pressure's on.
That sky is obviously ambitious. But
It is, but
with this offense, it's got to be the best he's ever. They
For sure.
finally gave him what he needs.
The change at OC, I think, is the big part of this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
adapting to a modern
that's the
NFL.
huge part of
right?
it. that to me, it's just the 2019 season is just so good and iconic that will be. Week 1 in that season? How was that? What happened in week 1 against the Finns? I remember that. That was a fun game.
It was great. I drafted him in fantasy that year.
I'll actually never forget watching that game because I knew we were going to be tanking that year. And I remember my dad looking over to me and saying, like, okay, I knew we were going to be bad, but it's every single week going to be like this because it was like 59.
Every time they touched
the
the ball, I'll never forget. It was just Lamar deep ball touchdown.
Yeah, it was
Lamar
bad.
deep
Like,
ball
that was
touchdown.
probably the biggest
Lamar.
beatdown I've ever watched in my life.
It was pretty bad. And that Patriots game.
The next week, we scored 0 points.
Yeah,
that
with
week.
Fitzpatrick and Josh Rosen came in, and they just threw pick 6 after pick 6 to the Patriots.
I've been
that one was
through it.
bad.
Yeah.
But
I don't know which one was worse,
And
actually.
so just because of Greg Roman, it really changes things. His offenses get stale. I saw it in Buffalo. The same thing happened in San Francisco. Eventually, it's like first year, it's great. Oh, this is fun. This is different. And then the league catches up.
Mm-hmm.
And then now I think that will be the biggest. That'll be like very refreshing for Lamar to have like a good offense to work in and a good OC.
I'm going to stick with the quarterbacks for my last one. This is the irresponsible take of all irresponsible takes.
Here we go.
Jordan Love is going to be better than Aaron Rodgers.
I
He's
love
like,
it.
He's going to have a better season than
This
Aaron
year-
Rodgers
this year
this year.
better.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's a good phrase.
I'll phrase it correctly. Jordan Love is going to have a better 2023 season than Aaron Rodgers. I don't know why I feel this way. Jordan Love has started one NFL game, but I love the guy for some reason. I've got just so much passion for Jordan Love that I want to see him succeed so badly. Maybe it's like the Favre to Rodgers, Rodgers to him now. He's just going to come in, make it seamless. It's all going to be great. Granted, their skill position players are kind of all over the place, but like Luke Musgrave apparently is the second coming of Gronk, and Jaden Reed looks great, Romeo Doubs, Christian Watson. They got Bakhtiari still, even though Rodgers is trying to steal him to New York. Like, all that stuff. And I think Rodgers... Maybe I'm drinking the Sean Payton Kool-Aid a little bit here, but he's got the worst coach I've ever seen in my life coaching him every day in Nathaniel Hackett. That guy doesn't know anything about football, even though he's been in... No, that's a harsh take, but they've got Nathaniel Hackett. I can't... There's no defense of hiring that man after the coaching malpractice that happened in Denver last year. So that's a little bit of a red flag. I know he has the history with Rodgers, but...
I think
Two
the big
MVPs
thing-
together. They won 2 MVPs together.
It's
No.
the offensive line for the Jets. That's the real issue. And I know I hinted at it before of like the take me and Pac agreed on, and it was that the Jets aren't going to make the playoffs. That
I don't think
line,
they're. I agree with that take too. By the way,
it wasn't hot enough.
I think
That's
a
why
lot of
show.
it is because of how good the AFC is, and then you have this other conference in the NFC where
that's fair.
the NFC is begging for guys like Jordan Love, like Sam Howell,
yeah.
to step up.
The reason this is going to blow up in my face, and I already know it's going to blow up in my face. Like, he was hurt last year, and now he got what he wanted. He got out of Green Bay. He's going to New York, out of all places.
He's
where
so happy.
He's so happy. He's never been happier.
No.
He's smoking weed with Sauce Gardner as their celebration. Like,
That's a great one.
great celebration, but like all the young guys on New York are probably just rejuvenating him. He's saying he's going to play for like 3 more years now. It's not even just a 1-year thing where everyone thought, oh, it's a big risk for New York. He might just leave next year. No, like
He's gonna play in the preseason.
He's gonna
Yeah,
It's
it's
nuts,
that
but-
and when.
nuts, right? But and
Must
then
be
you
nice.
add in
Yeah.
Jesus.
you add in just the excitement of Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall, and now Dalvin Cook's there, and you bring in Lazard, and like, I don't know. There's no way that he's not gonna have a good season, but I somehow am just telling myself, because I want to see Jordan Love succeed, that he's gonna have a better season, and Green Bay fans like yourself can just give a big F you to Aaron Rodgers at the end of the year when he's not playing playoff football and you guys are playing in a wild card game and maybe upsetting someone.
They're winning the division. We already covered that.
I think they're both making the playoffs. But anyways, look, Rodgers is gonna have a good year. I do believe that. So I'll make
I
the
think
case for
he is
Jordan
too.
Love. Okay, I'll make the case for Jordan Love
God,
because
this
I've
is
seen,
so irresponsible.
I've watched way too much Jordan Love.
Yeah.
But the case for him is that this offensive line is actually unbelievable. Like with Bakhtiari healthy, Elton Jenkins back healthy. They found Zach Tom, who's going to fill right tackle. The problem with Jordan Love isn't even him. He's got I think we can all agree he's shown the tools,
Absolutely.
right? He's got the arm. He's got the legs. He's even shown some leadership now, too, which is amazing.
Love that.
The thing is the consistency with the young receivers. So in year 1, I think he's going to struggle a little bit. And it's not going to be him, but like even in the second preseason game, Josh Myers just threw a snap over his head. Like, you know, there's things that's going to go on with these young guys, miscommunications. I think year 2, we can start talking about that.
Wow.
I think year 1 is a little early.
It's ambitious.
It's definitely ambitious.
irresponsible.
It is irresponsible, but I love it because again, Packers Nation right now is super high on Jordan Love.
I love it.
Can I take the other side on this? I agree with your take, but I think you guys are saying Rodgers is going to have this good to great year. I'm not so sure on that because, as I mentioned, the Jets O-line is an absolute mess. If you look at the guys historically, once they hit 40, Brady's not the standard. Brady's the exception to that rule.
I agree with that.
a quarterback, when it falls off, it's not like it's a drop, and it's a huge drop. And I know last year Rodgers didn't have weapons; he had the thumb injury, but it was not very good last year. And I don't really see it getting that much better. One, because their O-line's such a mess. Have you guys looked at the Jets' schedule? Their first 6 games, they could be 1-5 out of the gate.
I just don't know, and you mentioned it. I just don't know if last year was the start of the downfall and the next step is Rodgers is going to fall off a cliff, or if it was more to do with the injury and the lack of weapons and just the turmoil in Green Bay with everything going on, and you traded Devontae Adams and all this stuff. So I'm trying to differentiate the two, and I'm having a hard time figuring out what the real reason is that things happen the way they did last year. I will say, I know we've talked a lot about Rodgers, but like the core of this take is my love for Jordan Love. So I'm excited to see what a Matt LaFleur offense finally looks like without Aaron Rodgers, because we've heard all about just how they had to marry the two, and just LaFleur wanted things one way, Rodgers wanted things one way. You kind of come together and this is what you get. And he did win 2 MVPs like that. So the expectations with Jordan Love aren't that he's going to win MVP, but at the same time, like Matt LaFleur finally has full control of this offense to make in his vision, whether that be a lot more passing, a lot more running. Like, we don't know. We really don't know what that looks like, and I'm really excited to see it. And Jordan Love really doesn't have the experience or the pedigree to be like, no, I'm doing it this way. So it really is going to be his show this year, and they've got a lot of weapons around him that I feel like his transition to being an experienced quarterback and maybe finding success will be a lot easier than some of the other guys that are kind of coming into their first year as starters, especially having learned behind Rodgers for all these years too. Okay, we don't have a lot of time, but 2 more bold takes because that's 8, 2 each.
Yeah,
Great bold takes, everybody. You guys brought the heat. We brought the spice. I love it. Let's do a bold Super Bowl winner and a bold kind of spicy, like this is going to be the worst team in the NFL. They're going to have the number 1 overall pick.
Are the Dolphins too bold to say that they're going to win the Super Bowl?
No, that's bold.
That's
That's
very
pretty
bold.
bold.
I think this team, like, if this is a big if, I think if Tua stays healthy, I'm not saying he's the reason why they win, but the replacement is just so far of a drop off. I just want to talk about Miami's roster for a second, because I think this is a top 5 with a potential of being a top 3 defense in the NFL, especially with Vic Fangio now. And the offense is just going to be an absolute nightmare. If they can get through, I'm going to call it the AFC Beast, because I think it's the best division in football. If they can get through that and get a home game in the playoffs, I think this team can win the Super Bowl.
You want me to be bold with the Super Bowl pick?
Yeah.
Dallas Cowboys.
I like
That's who I was going to say, but I'll pick another one.
I think it's realistic that they could try to trade for Jonathan Taylor. Like, I think if they make a move for Taylor, but also it's like
they need him?
I don't think they need him.
I don't think Pollard is that main.
I think Pollard
dude.
is
I love
I think
Pollard.
I like
he's
Pollard.
that guy.
I like
I
Pollard,
think
but
he's
I
that
don't.
dude.
I think those two complementing each other would be fantastic.
What about
and this
Deuce
might,
Vaughn?
this might be dated by the time it
love
gets there.
Deuce Vaughn.
Honestly, I would love to say the Chargers, but I just do not. I think they should have. Sean Payton should be coaching the Chargers, and then the Chargers would be the answer for the Super Bowl pick.
I was going to say the Cowboys as well, and then you stole my second one by mentioning the Chargers. But I'm going to go I'm going to go with the Chargers because Justin Herbert, and that's really mainly the reason why. I love Kellen Moore just being the offensive coordinator of this team. Contrary to what everyone thinks about him, I like Brandon Staley, and I think he's a good coach, and I just think the decisions that he's made have backfired, obviously, and comical ways, and they've had just disastrous results because of them, but I love the process, and I love that he is a bold coach that just does it his way, and his players seem to agree with the way he does things, or I don't think he'd be there still because of some of these decisions. Like, I don't think he gets as long of a leash if he's not a good coach and his players don't believe in the decisions he's making. So I'm in on Brandon Staley. I think the defense is going to be better this year. They still have Khalil Mack. They still have Joey Bosa. The O-line should be better. Just give me the Chargers. Like, I don't know why I'm doing this to myself. They never do it.
But I think it's the Kellen Moore factor. I think that's the argument to them kind of overcoming a bad head coach is a good OC.
I agree. Matt.
Hein also took my Cowboys.
Oh, God.
So wait, we are all this just high? I guess
I think the
bold
Cowboys
pick.
are like a great pick because everyone
The
thinks them as
NFC is a
joke.
disaster.
Yeah, exactly.
Playoffs.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
They'll never
That's
win.
why it's
They'll never
bold.
actually win
Yeah.
the Super Bowl, but they're
Yeah.
always a good team. I think that's a great
That's
pick.
why it's bold.
So now I'm going to be irresponsible like you were.
Hell yeah.
And say Pittsburgh.
That's the other team that I was toying with, man.
Which is pretty irresponsible. But again, you look at defense, man. Like
Oh,
TJ
it's
Watt's
so
my
good.
defensive player of the year prediction, which isn't bold by any means, but when he's on the field and healthy, he's like the best player in the NFL. And he wins games by himself.
Minka. Minka is like my. Imagine the
Yeah.
Dolphins
I
and
can't
Minka
stand
still.
that guy. Yeah, we had Javon Hall, and that was way better.
Not at all. Minka's
No,
so
he's
so
the best
good,
of them.
man.
I don't know. I think Pittsburgh could be a playoff team. Like I Super Bowl I think is crazy, but we're being bold here.
Yeah.
We're flaming hot with the takes, so I respect.
Teams don't just beat the hell out of Pittsburgh.
Yeah,
like
no, it doesn't happen.
they're gonna fight.
They're
you
in every game.
second. Yeah.
Number 1 overall pick. Bold take. Bold team.
So this
go.
plays off of
Make
what I
it
said
quick.
before. Chicago Bears.
Okay.
That's my bold pick. I already mentioned how I'm fading on Fields. I think Fields is going to be bad. I think they are a good dark horse pick to be picking first overall again.
I'm gonna go to the New England Patriots.
Love it.
kinda like-
Yes, Pop.
I'm not a Mac Jones believer by any means.
He stinks.
I think Bill Belichick has. It's tough. It's cruel to say he's outstayed his welcome in New England, but I mean he's probably the greatest coach of all time.
It's probably outstayed as well.
Probably.
It's time to close that chapter, Bill Belichick. You've had a great career. It's time for someone who's sort of new school to come in and do something exciting in New England. And they're anything but exciting, this team. That division is too good. There's going to be one team that is just very, very bad. And I think it's going to be the New England Patriots.
I can't look at Luka while I say this.
Denver Broncos. I was
Oh,
kind of thinking
wow.
about them too.
Yeah,
kind of thinking about.
I'm so
them.
in on Denver, man. I don't care who's coaching that team. That offense was the worst offense I might have ever seen in the NFL. I don't know how you watched it every week last
It
year.
sucked.
Because it was just so bad.
I watched games for players on fantasy teams going against them. So that was
Like-
fun. Cam Akers, shout out Cam Akers, won me a fantasy championship because of what he did against the Broncos.
I just see a world where Russell Wilson does not turn that ship around, and you're fighting it for 17 games,
I agree.
and then the franchise takes a new step with a new quarterback next year.
You know what? If we get Caleb Williams next year, I don't give a crap. Russell
Yeah, that's a
Wilson
win, I
just
think.
tank this franchise into oblivion. And let's get the first overall pick. Like,
You
let's do
trade
it.
a ton of first-round picks to tank for the first-round pick. It's kind of nice.
Not that we drew it up, but hey, we got a franchise quarterback.
There you go.
I was toying with Denver. You know what? Let's go with I'll stay in the AFC West. Let's go with the Raiders.
I knew he was going to say
Let's
this.
go with
'cause
the
he's a
Raiders.
Jimmy G hater.
Not only a Jimmy G hater, Josh McDaniels, I hate that guy. Thanks for ruining the Broncos for a few years. One of the only coaches that started out the season 6-0 and didn't make the playoffs. That was nuts. I still will never forgive him for like trading away everybody. Not only that, but I just think like there are really no building blocks on this team outside of a few positions. Like Max Crosby is really great. Love him. Colton Miller on the offensive line, really good. Jimmy G, whatever. Josh Jacobs, yeah, he's good. He's a running back though. Devontae Adams is great. Jimmy G's throwing him the ball. I couldn't care less. That defense is in shambles. They got to play in the AFC West. Like, I don't know. They're competitive. They're feisty. I think last year was the competitive and feisty year for them though with Derek Carr. And this year, I just think there's not enough there. And Josh McDaniels is going to get exposed a little bit for the fraud that he is.
I think you look at
That was vicious.
very, very hard. I think you look at their last 5 years. No team in football has drafted as poorly as them, and they've like cut like first round picks and like. I think that's a great pick, Luca, because it's like it could be week 6 when they're 0-6, and we're like, oh yeah, this is what happens when all of your draft classes for 5 years
Doesn't
have been
hit.
terrible.
Can't just rely on free agency.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm going. That is 10 bold predictions, 10 spicy hot takes for the NFL season. And let us know what other kind of videos you guys want to see. This is the first time we're trying anything like this. We've got some other ideas planned. That was a lot of fun. Call us out. What takes did we get right? What takes did we get wrong before the season even started? And let us know your hot takes for the upcoming season. And like and subscribe and all that fun stuff. Thank you very much.
Like and subscribe.